Great. Well, welcome. It's good to see everyone. Um, for those of you watching this recorded, because I know everybody here, but like for the other people, I'm Kristin Croyle. I'm the Dean for Liberal Arts and Sciences, and I'm with Kendra as my co-presenter.
Yes, Kendra Cadogan. I think I've met most of you, but some of you I haven't, so nice to meet you virtually. I'm Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, and I just passed my 1-year anniversary at Oswego a couple days ago. So yay me. It's been great. It's been a great year.
So we have lots of experience in saying yes to lots of things, as many of you do. And the more experience you get saying yes, the more practice you also need to say no, right? To be able to protect your time and your sanity and get some sleep and save your energy for things that are really important to you.
Yes, absolutely. So we look forward to talking over some strategies with you all today. And we hope that folks will get some concrete takeaways to improve their saying no practice, but also most importantly, to be able to say yes to the things that are important and that you really want to do. So we're going to open with just a very casual talking circle. Many of you, some of you at least, I think have been to the restorative practices retreat, and you know that we've been leaning into restorative practices on this campus, which I think is great. So I just want to start out with a casual talking circle and just acknowledge again that circles open possibility for connection and mutual understanding by creating spaces that lift barriers and allow for meaningful participation, which is what we hope for today. I also want to acknowledge the Aboriginal, First Nation, and Native traditions of talking circles. So they're based on a sacred tradition of sharing circles, which are typically led by someone who has the blessing of an elder. And there are special prayers and sacred objects that are typically employed. So we don't have special prayers or sacred objects today, but I'm hopeful that opening with sharing will create an environment where folks feel comfortable to be open and introspective and where we can learn from each other. So based on my screen, I'm just going to call on folks round robin style, and I'm going to ask everyone to just share in 1 or 2 words how you're feeling going into this session today. And then in 1 or 2 very brief sentences, how you're hoping to feel coming out of the session or what you're hoping to get out of the session. So I'm gonna actually pick on the CELT folks who are in person today and start round robin there. John, if you want to start the circle.
I'll start by, I'm relieved because this is the last session of the day of the first week of workshops, and it's good to be at that point. And I'm looking forward to having some recommendations on how to say no, because I haven't been very good at that.
Jessica Harris, Health Promotion and Wellness. I am excited about this session because I am also looking forward to tips and strategies for saying no. I'm someone who has struggled with that in the past. It's kind of one of my areas that I am looking to grow in because I do struggle with saying no, feeling like, oh no, what is that person going to think, or things like that. So I'm excited about this session.
I guess a couple of words of how I'm doing. I'm tired, but I'm really glad to be here. So they're, definitely not mutually exclusive of each other, but you caught a room of, yes sayers. And, I think it's definitely an area of work that, just to echo what Jessica was saying, that I'm definitely I need to practice in saying no and feeling good about that, because I tend to carry a lot of anxiety of like, who am I disappointing, or like, how is this going to be? I always think about saying no as a negative thing, and so I'm looking forward to I'm getting better, but still needs work.
Awesome, thank you. Scott, I'll pass it on to you.
All right, for me, I'm feeling relieved. I'm ready for a 3-day weekend. Working on academic probation assignments and that kind of stuff. It's kind of, tedious and that kind of thing, but I'm looking forward to this episode, and I'm looking forward to kind of, like Maggie said, like not feeling guilty by saying no.
Awesome. Mark?
Mark with the Physical College Department, and feeling good. And I used to live for chaos, meaning I thrived on being overscheduled and, you know, being involved in lots of different things. And I still do like that. But there's times now more frequently than in the past where I'd say, you know, too much is too much. So might be time to slow down a little.
Thank you. Carolina?
Yes, hello. I'm really excited about this session. Very interesting to be offered, and I think it's very useful. From my perspective, thinking of our students and their success, when I enter in my classes and I want to teach, I want to have those resources and that energy to, you know, to bring to the class. So if I'm overcommitted in other things, then this energy decreases and is not fair to my students. So I try to find a balance into doing meaningful things and still give the best to my students. This is very, very important to me. Thank you.
Nicole?
Keyboard shortcut just didn't work. Anyway, I'm thinking about puppies, but I'm really pleased to be here and that this is being led by people who are prominently high up in the administration, because I think that sends a message that this is a value that all of SUNY Oswego has, and that is actually really great. So I appreciate that. What I'm hoping to get out of it is I'm actually really good at saying no, unless I'm really interested in and excited about something. And then I always want to say yes. And so something I frequently run into is realizing partway through that I should have said no to something and then having to back out. So just maybe strategies to help me deal with that.
Grace?
Hi again, happy Friday. I'm excited for this talk today. I hope that it's an indication of a cultural shift on campus to support employees being strategic about their development professionally. So thank you for hosting it.
Thanks, Grace. Lisa?
I've actually been going back and forth today between exhaustion and rage. Not so much about things that are happening on campus, but things that the sheriff's office is about to hopefully retract. It's a whole thing that just won't end. So I kind of to echo Nicole, like I have no problem with guilt saying no to things I don't care about, but I feel like maybe I care about too many things and say yes to too many things. And then I don't back out because it's with people I like. I'm looking at like Michelle on the executive board of things, or being on, you know, it's like, or because I really care about something and want it to be done well. And I don't know how to deal with that. So hopefully I'll learn that today.
Awesome. Thanks. Julia?
Yes, I think like many, I'm looking forward to the end of another week. It has been a busy week for both these workshops and other things I've been doing. I think also like others, I'm looking for tools that I can use because I say yes to a lot of things because I'm interested, and then I feel badly letting people down. But I'm also looking forward to getting some tools that I can maybe pass on to others in my department to help them in their development.
Thank you. Michelle May, sorry, because there's two Michelles. Michelle May.
I definitely, like Mark, I kind of have grown up and sort of thrive in chaos. But then there's a point where the chaos just gets a little bit too much to handle. And I have achiever and responsibility in my top 5 strengths. And so with that, it's really hard to say no. And especially if it's something that is something that I'm interested in, or something that, you know, has an outcome that I want. I'm very invested in the things that I say yes to, or the things that are put on me, even if I don't have a choice. And so I'm looking for, I guess, ways to moderate that and to have a better work-life balance, if I can say no without the major guilt, both professionally and personally.
Thank you. Michelle Banla.
I'm very happy it's Friday too. So that's the big, and almost at the end of Friday, which is really awesome. But I have gotten a lot better at saying no over the years. And so now I'm just trying to not feel as guilty when I say no. So, yep.
Thank you. Shelley.
So I am Shelley Sloan. I'm a little distracted and a little bit stressed out, but okay. And I've gotten, like Michelle, better at saying no the older I get, but you can always learn more and pick up tips as you go. So I listened to your podcast this morning, actually, in preparation for this. So thank you for that. That was good to hear and some good reinforcements in that. And I'm hoping to just get a little bit more today.
Awesome. Kristin?
So I'm Kristin, and I'm excited to be with all of you today. This is a group of a bunch of my favorite people. So it's so nice to be together, even if it's electronically. And I'm hoping that, what am I hoping for today? I'm hoping to communicate the most important pieces and not get distracted by things that aren't as important. As a presenter, that's always like, what do I really, really want to communicate?
And Kristen Haynes.
Hi there. I'm feeling happy that the snow has brought all these birds to the Rice Creek feeders. And I guess I'm looking to take away from this perspectives from other people, because this is something I've always struggled with, both in my personal life and my professional life, like saying no, and often that's been really great. But I think more and more I'm learning about the power of like simplifying and focusing your energy, but I don't always know how to get past, like how to physically say no to people. And yeah, that's a hard thing. So I'm excited for that.
So I'll just go last. I am excited to be here. I'm a little bit tired, but very glad it's Friday. But I'm really excited to do this presentation. And frankly, I'm also hoping to learn from all of you tips and tricks, right? Like Chris and I have some ideas about how we say no, but I'm always interested to hear how other folks navigate this. And there's always new things to learn. So I think we can probably dive right in. Thank you all so much for being open and for allowing us to do that exercise. And I think we can get started.
Thank you, Kendra. I'm going to share. So we're going with green today. Green is a nice growth-oriented color. So saying no so you can say yes, which was like we thought kind of hard, not very hard. We thought about the title though. Why is it that you want to say no to things? There are many reasons, but the reasons that we care about the most are ways that you can protect your time and the investment of your energy, so that opens you up to say yes to things that you really value and you want to spend your time on. So with that in mind, let's take a quick look back. And if you want, you can jot down something for yourself, like on a Post-it note or on one of the notes on your computer or whatever. Think about the last semester, or maybe the last year. And with the benefit of all of the hindsight that you have, think about one or two commitments that you worked on in the last year that you, in hindsight, wish that you had declined. And while you're thinking of that, also see if you can think of one or two things that you would have wanted to say yes to that you didn't, or a bigger yes. Like you put a tiny bit of time and effort into it, but you really wanted to put in a bunch more. So both sides of the coin here. Let's I'm just gonna, let's give us a minute of thought time for this. So as you're thinking about those, are there any things that surprised you or things that emerged as a theme and in your thinking? You don't have to share if you don't want to. If you want to put something in the chat, that's fine. Or if you just want to remind yourself like, oh, I thought that would be a mistake. And boy, was I right. That was such a mistake. Oh, and my gallery is kind of restricted. So if you're waving, I probably will not be able to see you.
Don't see anyone waving so far.
Okay. Okay. So keep that in mind as we're talking, because it can be easy to talk about things in generalities, like this is one way to say no, and this is something to think about. But the rub actually comes in the specifics, right? Like, I know exactly what I would say until they ask me. And then it gets hard. So in your head, while you're thinking through things, think of the specific examples, the things that you're actually confronted with, and that will help move us forward in our conversation.
Grace had a comment. Maybe it would be easiest if you just said it so everyone could hear, because not everyone has access to the chat.
Sure. So I just wrote, when I thought about what I wish I declined, I remembered all of the reasons why I didn't. Became overwhelmed again. So thank you.
So they're fresh. All those reasons are fresh.
And I think that's actually a great point, Grace, because as I was thinking through this activity, I actually started thinking to myself, like, was there anything I actually could have declined? And it honestly almost seemed to me as if it was impossible for me to decline anything that I said yes to. I'm not sure that that's true, but it can very feel that way, right? So something to think about, I think, as we move through the presentation.
So we made a list of reasons that we say yes. You can see if any of these resonate with you. Go ahead, Kendra.
Yes. So first, I think probably really the number one, because we're serving individuals or groups that we care about, right? And folks mentioned that already. Someone that you work with, someone on this screen, you know, a colleague that you really care about and that you enjoy working with, needs you to do something. Of course, you want to say yes because you care about the people, you care about the group, maybe, you know, if it's a particular group of students, if it's a particular group of faculty or staff, you know, if you feel connected to those groups, of course you want to say yes. Again, serving causes that we care about kind of ties directly into that, right? We say yes to the people that we care about. We say yes to the causes that we care about. Sometimes we feel like we have particular expertise, and we do, you know, in different topics. So we want to bring that, right? We have experience. We want to bring that to the table because we care about a particular cause. Interest ties in, right? So again, we hope that we get an opportunity to say yes to things that we are only interested in. That would be like the dream, right? People only ask you to do stuff you're interested in doing, and then you get to say yes about it. Of course, Mark mentioned, what was it? Thriving in chaos. Even a scenario like that can probably lead to, you know, a little bit of chaos. So we want to think through again how we temper our yeses, even in areas that we're interested in. But interest is a great reason, I think, to say yes. Career growth or personal growth, all of this I think goes hand in hand, particularly today where, you know, we all work at SUNY Oswego. We're really thinking about professional development, right? Like we're in these sessions because we want to develop professionally. I don't think there's anyone who would say that their career isn't in some way important to them, right? Even if it's not because you're looking for extreme growth, it's probably personally fulfilling to you. So you want to say yes to things that, feed your career growth and feed your personal growth. Being flattered to be asked is another big reason why people say yes. Sometimes, it can make you feel special when someone comes to you and says, there's this thing that I really need done. You're the person for the job. You have the expertise, you have the connections, you have whatever it takes to get this done. It's flattering, right? Like, we might not always think about it as flattering in the moment, but it can be. It certainly can be an ego boost. And it's nice to be affirmed, right? And to know that folks feel that we're competent and that they think that we're capable. Quid pro quo, or it's my turn. So sometimes, maybe you've asked someone to do something and now they're asking you to do something, and you feel very much like, well, it's a favor for a favor, right? I say that often. I have a friend that I say that to all the time, like, a favor for a favor. So sometimes we get in these dynamics where, even if it's not necessarily in our best interest, or if we don't have the bandwidth, we really do feel beholden, right? Because we've asked for something and now this person needs something in return. That's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a scenario that I think we need to think about and make sure we manage appropriately. And then, of course, the other piece why we say yes, and I think, sorry, I can't remember who mentioned this, but it's important to think about what the institution's bottom line is, kind of like, what's the culture around saying no, right? If you're an employee, and Kristin talks about this extensively in the podcast, if you had a chance to listen, if you're a staff member versus a faculty member, saying no can mean very different things, right? So faculty often have a lot more bandwidth to say no. It's a much more kind of autonomous position in a lot of ways, whereas staff have very, very often prescriptive performance programs and requirements. And part of those performance programs often say things like other duties as assigned, right? So it can become very unclear for staff in particular, I think, about whether or not they're allowed to say no. I think the same thing can go for newer faculty. If you are in a position where you're looking to get tenure, you're just looking to advance to the next stage, you might not feel like you're going to get fired necessarily if you say no, but is it going to count negatively against you when you're up for review? So I think those are very real concerns. And then last but not least, and honestly, I think this probably, I would wager that most folks in this session probably can resonate with this idea that we're irreplaceable, right? And it goes back to what I said before about being the only person for the job, right? Like, I'm the only one that can do this. If I don't do this thing, it's all going to fall apart. The world will end. It will never be done. Whatever cause I care about, won't be furthered, or it will be ruined, or whatever the case may be. But one thing that I like to keep in mind, even though I don't do a good job always of following this, is reminding myself that I'm not irreplaceable, right? So if God forbid something should happen to me today, and I drop dead right now, I'm sure people will be sad and they will miss me, but they will also replace me. So it's just something for us to think about. Yes, thanks, Nicole. I don't want to, I will try not to drop dead, but it's something to really think about. We talk about self-care a lot. It's important to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and we're not thinking of ourselves as irreplaceable, because organizationally, we're not irreplaceable. So I'm sorry, Kristin, I should probably let you chime in.
Oh, that's good. And I'm going to say these are numbered only because we're curious about what are your personal favorites? Which ones do you find yourself responding to a lot? Just put some numbers in the chat. I personally have gotten all of these on my list.
Me too.
Although 1, 2, 3, and 4 are my personal favorites, for example. Those are the ones that I find myself falling into. And being interested isn't like a bad thing, right? So take a look, see which ones are the ones that are the on your top 10 list, let's say.
It's for me, all of them really, except 6 or 8, I guess.
You wait until a department needs a chair and they're like, well, everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
they're-
Yeah. True. Yeah.
See,
But
I think I fall like more in the 8 for that kind of thing because of lots of things, right?
True,
But
yeah.
because I feel like I probably say yes so much that I don't think quid pro quo is really a motivating thing for me. Because I'm like, well, it's always my turn.
Yeah, true. But I would agree with you, Kristin. I think 1, 2, 3, and 4 are really kind of most prominent for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
And
also fallen into the number 5 and
being like, yes. Yeah.
and those, all of those, by the way, these are all very positive feelings and motivators, right? These are, if we were talking about conflict avoidance, these are approach things. Like you do things because you want to serve. You want to serve this cause. You want to support these people you care about. You're super interested about something. You see an opportunity for growth. These are all positive, exciting things. They just have a little bit of a dark side, right? So what do we really need to say yes to? We all want, all of us, we all want to continue to work in jobs that we find rewarding at an institution that is stable and a positive place to work, right? So we want to advance our own career goals. And at the same time, all of us, I really think, should want to advance institutional goals because we want to work at a healthy place. So institutional goals affect all of us. And also, ideally, we also want to be working on things that are personally refreshing because that keeps you fresh for working on things in the future. So if you think about where you want to be in 3 years and 5 years, the easiest example, of course, is assistant professors, that hopefully every assistant professor wants to be promoted to associate professor, because if not, why'd they go for it to start with? In which case they really have to write, because there isn't a single assistant professor that gets promoted without professional achievement. So they need to be working on things that advance their writing or, or their art or their music. But where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? And what kinds of things do you need to say yes to that will advance you in that way? And we're going to take a few minutes to think more deeply about that in the future. So this is something to keep in mind. What are we really wanting to say yes to? Things that keep us in a job that we like, at a place that is healthy enough for us to thrive in, and that keep us fresh enough that we can continue to do our work. And all of this is about saying yes as a long-term strategy. That if you engage with the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity, one theme that they say a lot actually is that your career is a book with many chapters. So some part of the saying yes is trying to say yes to all 10 chapters at the same time. Whereas sometimes we're just going to do chapter 1 and then we're going to do chapter 2. And that a strategy for dividing your time is really about maintaining your health and creativity and joy so that you can say yes to the phase that you're in and prepare yourself for the next phase instead of feeling like you need to do it all at the same time. So let's talk about some techniques. First one, and the easiest one, delay. Do you want to give an example, Kendra?
Sure. So, when someone asks you, and Kristin actually gave this great example in the podcast. I think you called it the sidewalk ask, Kristin. Was that what it was, the sidewalk ask? When you're at a meeting and someone ambushes you at the end, like, hey, there's this thing, are you available to do X, Y, or Z? This is a perfect example of a time when you can delay. Let me think about that. Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I need some time to think about that. Let me consider it, right? Buy some time. I think are these going to pop in the boxes, Kristin?
Yeah, we're actually going to do the scripts next.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So there are a couple other ones that kind of tie into this, but delaying, I think, is one that you can probably use in every single one of these options that we're going to talk about here.
And there are I try. Okay, this is a goal. This is aspirational here. I try to use delay for all of my asks. When someone asks me, I try to use delay, except there are a few exceptions, right? Traditionally, if the president has asked me to do something, I say yes. That's my strategy. You don't have to use the same strategy. I say yes. I don't delay. I say yes. I might ask some questions, but I say yes. But I try to use delay for everything. And that's like a 24-hour delay, a 12-hour delay. It doesn't have to be like, I'll get back to you in a year. It can be like, let me double check my calendar. Let me look at my commitments. Delay. Yes. But it's also good to have a bunch of scripts that you can literally turn to. So let's write some right now. And we're talking like one sentence. What could you say if someone asks you to do something that is not a yes? And that doesn't mean it has to be a no. It could be a no, but just what are some things that you could say? And Kendra just said one. It could be, thanks for thinking of me. Yay. Yep. Me think about it and get back to you in some reasonable timeline. Tomorrow, next week, after the holidays, What else could you say? That's not a yes immediately.
Thanks for thinking of me is my favorite one. But sometimes I'll also go with like, oh gosh, I think someone might be better suited for this. Let me think of who that would be.
And it is
yes,
not.
Carolina.
Yes, it isn't. It's not a bad thing to recommend other people. That's a good thing, right? Now they might have to say yes or no if they're asked, but what you're saying is I respect my colleagues' work who are good at many things. Did you know all these things they're good at? Let me tell you some. Oh, that's a good one, Grace. Except I can't be typing and reading at the same time. So y'all have to read the chat.
Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm not able to commit to it right now, but really appreciate your work toward this goal. If you need suggestions of other folks that might be interested, let me know. And that's actually a favorite technique of mine as well. I do that often. If someone reaches out and asks me to do something and I truly don't have the bandwidth, or maybe I'm just not even the best person for the job, rather than just saying no, right? Thanks for thinking of me, but I can't. I like to point them in the direction of someone who can. Someone who might be served by the opportunity, someone who might be better at it than me, have more expertise, whatever the case may be. Because, you can't say yes to everything, but you also want to help as you can. And sometimes helping isn't necessarily fulfilling the request as requested, but rather referring appropriately. Lisa says, I can't do it now because I won't be able to give it the time and attention it deserves. That's a great way to graciously say no.
Or even let me check my calendar and get back to you. Thank you for this opportunity or something like that. Taking a look at your calendar before you say yes.
That's a great idea. And I think that, what Kristin said about delaying, I think delaying is it's not even just a tactic. I think it's a good practice. Going back to the idea of self-care and making sure that we're not overwhelming ourselves. I think it's important to sometimes take time to think about requests, right? Because you can get so used to just yes, 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 of course I can, of course I can. You're not taking the time to really critically think through whether or not you have the bandwidth, whether or not you're well served, whether or not you're the best person for the job, right? So it's always a good idea to take some time to think things over. 24 hours, like Kristin said, right? It doesn't have to be forever, but you can take a day.
And just to be clear, these are really nice answers. You can just say no. Sometimes that's fine. That is completely fine. And if there's like the general email asked to 20 people and you don't want to do it, you don't have to respond. You don't have to say anything.
That's very true.
You're all lovely, nice people who are good at maintaining your relationships. And sometimes some of us just need to not do that and just say no. No, I can't do that. Very nice.
In the podcast, I think Rebecca had a great example that she used, which was to ask about the time and resources that it would take to fulfill a request, right? So when someone asks you to do something, again, reflexively, we always want to say yes, but sometimes we need to ask them, what's the time commitment like? What's the timeline? You know, what are the deliverables? And the point that was made then was Kristin said, you know, and sometimes folks haven't actually thought through that far, right? So it gives them an opportunity to go back and re-examine their request and their timeline and what they actually need, and then get back to you with more accurate information.
And
so,
I think you're being gracious there. I think I said, like, sometimes I haven't thought about that. So someone asked me questions like, oh, how long would that take? And what are the deliverables? And what is the timeline? I should think through that.
Yes.
So yes, asking about the time, the deliverables, all of those. And see, the advantage that Kendra and I have is that we've asked so many people to do so many things. We've heard like a million different answers. And some of them are really, really good. Like,
yep.
oh, like those are good questions.
Yep.
So asking about the time commitment, and if it's someone who has a supervisory role over you, talking specifically about time trade-off is a good idea. So especially for a staff member whose supervisor is asking them something, or an assistant professor whose chair is asking them to do something, say, well, how much time is this going to take? And what is the timeline? This is what I'm working on right now. What would you suggest that I take off this so I can say yes to this? Because if in a staff position, the supervisor actually is responsible for helping you figure out how to allocate your time. And for an assistant professor, any good chair should be helping them make those decisions. And sometimes the ask goes away then. Say, oh, I had forgotten you're working on those 83 incredibly important things I asked you to work on. Maybe not number 84. I've had some very savvy, excellent people say a partial yes. And I think that is less commonly done than we should all be doing. So an example of a partial yes is, I can't commit to that year-long committee, but I could come to the first few meetings and like give my input in the direction, but then I'm gonna need to step back. Or I could review this piece of it that is my area of expertise, but not do all that other stuff. Kendra, have you seen partial yeses that are?
Oh, yes. I've done partial yeses myself personally. And I think that's where the consulting piece comes in. Grace actually alluded to this, I think, already in the comments. Sometimes a partial yes looks like, you know, you're asking me to serve on a committee, let's say, right? Well, maybe there are pieces of the committee work that I have expertise on or experience, or, you know, knowledge of whatever, that I can provide consultation around, right? So I can't necessarily sit on the committee and help write the report and go to the meetings and do all those things, but I can consult for you, right? So if you have specific questions or if there are specific things that you need my feedback on, ask me those things and I'm happy to give you, you know, information. That's a partial yes. So I can help with some of it. I can't say yes to the full commitment though, right? And I think consulting, like partial yes and consulting to me go hand in hand, and folks really should think about that more often. Sometimes all people really need is your expertise or your perspective or like your specific knowledge in a very specific area. They don't need the whole other ask, right? The rest of it.
And the other consult that's important, ask somebody else. Ideally have several people in mind that you can ask about your service commitments. So when somebody asks you to do something really interesting, you have like your people. You go to your people and you say, I got asked to do this thing. What do you think? Should I say yes or no? And sometimes those are mentors and sometimes they're colleagues that understand your work. I am I have the wonderful group of people around me in the Dean Suite. I've got Murat and Paul as associate deans, and then Jen Knapp is right across the suite from me. And it's not uncommon that I will take something across the suite to Jen and say, this thing came up. What do you think? Do you think this is worth my time? Is there another person that could do this? Because I know what traps I fall into. And if I ask my consultation group, should I do this? They have different biases than I do, and they can help me address my biases. I also do the imaginary consultation. I worked with this really wonderful person who was hired the same day I was as an assistant professor. And we started at the same time, and he had kids the same age and was, you know, and he said no a lot, but he was very productive and like a great colleague. So he didn't have a reputation as saying no. He just was very good at protecting his time. So I have like imaginary people in my head and I consult. I think, would Grant say yes to this? Would so-and say yes to this? Would this other dean I worked with say yes to this? No, they'd all say no. So what's my problem here? So even the imaginary consultation team in your head can help you figure out, would my colleague who's really good at protecting their time say yes to this? No, they wouldn't. But on the other hand, I have a much wider professional network now than he did because I said yes to so many things. And to me, I value that. What other techniques should we add to the list that we left off?
Is there one for throwing someone else under the bus?
That was mentioned. That was mentioned. Yeah.
Was kind of mentioned, right? So
It's about sharing their expertise.
Exactly. That's the referral, right?
I
Let
mean,
me refer you to my colleague.
Right. I would say in a positive way, and this is more for people on the faculty track, but if you know that so-and-so is going, 2 years away from tenure and their service is a little light, you can have a conversation with their chair that like, oh, here's an opportunity that you can talk to so-and-so about, and then, trying to spread it a little bit that way too.
Yes, exactly. So this is way too small for you to read, but this is the flowchart in Thriving in Academia, which is the book that SELT used in the fall for new faculty as a reading group. And this is a flowchart to help people think about whether or not they want to say yes to a commitment. And I have mentioned this several times because I have pulled it out 3 times for something that I want to say yes to. And every time I pull it out, it says, no brainer, say no. And then I say no. And then it comes, and no one is saying yes to this. So it keeps coming up. And it comes up another month. And I look at the flow chart again and it says, no brainer, say no. And I'm like, okay. So what does it ask you to consider? What? Do I have time to take on an additional service commitment? Yes or no? Is the service highly valued? Yes or no? Will it involve a large time commitment? Yes or no? So this one I keep looking at, I don't really have time for it, but I said yes. Is it something that the institution highly values? No. Is it something I highly value? No. Does it involve a large time commitment? Yes. Oh, that's the no-brainer. Say no. So I keep saying no to this. And so does everybody else. And then it comes up again and I look at it again. But this is like having an imaginary consultation, right? Like if you went to a mentor and said, isn't that a lot of time? Does anyone care about that thing that you would be working on? No. Do you really care about it? No. Well, then don't do it. But if you have time and it's something you really value, even if it's going to take a lot of time, go for it.
And Kristin, you've made this point before that most of these really lead to no's. So it's just a good reminder that there are probably many, many, many more instances in which we should actually be saying no. So it's just something to think about and think through. And I want to just quickly to go back to a great point that Grace made in the chat, which is kind of part of the reason why we're doing this session. So Grace, let me go back to the comment, said, if all the same people say yes all the time, we run the risk of the same people at the table all of the time. It really diminishes the ability to get diverse thoughts, skills, strategies to the table to advance the work when the same people are at every table, right? And we know that the research shows it. I think we all know it from like our own personal experiences. Very, very often we see women and we see faculty and staff from historically marginalized populations that are constantly saying yes, right? Constantly being called to the table to do the same things, to carry the same burdens, to do the extra work, to fill in, to stand in the gap. And that's an undue burden, right? So we really, for ourselves, obviously we want to be really thoughtful again about what we say yes to and make sure that we're not getting caught up in those kinds of toxic cycles, frankly. But as people who also have the power to ask folks for things, right? To ask people to make a decision to which they have to say yes or no. We need to be mindful of that, right? Like, be mindful of whether we're tapping the same person over and over and over again. And if we are, asking ourselves why? Why am I always asking this person? Or why is this person always being asked, right? Is this healthy? Are there other people that need to be at the table so that there's diverse perspective and different viewpoints? Like Grace said, we don't need to always be the people at all the tables, and we don't want to enable other people to always be at the table for everything, right? Diversity of perspective and background and experience is very, very important. Particularly, I think, for the functioning of our campus community, right? Like as an institution of higher learning. So it's really quite critical that we get this saying no thing right, I think.
Thank you, Kendra. Now, there are a few people that I think should say yes more, but none of them will ever listen to this, so we're not even going to address that. So what if you're in a situation where you feel like you really can't say no? Then what do you do? Because there are those situations. And one is if it's a core expectation of the job, you just can't say no. It's part of the job. If you don't want to do the job, start thinking about whether there's another job where you want to do the core expectations. But if it's also something that's highly valued by your supervisor or mentor, and if you say no, you could run the risk of hurting your relationship with them. Or on the other hand, if you have a punitive supervisor or mentor, where if you say no, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. There are definitely those situations. So first, just to be clear, if you or anyone that you work with is in that third situation where people are being pressured to do things that are not a core job expectation that they don't want to do, and they feel like they're not being treated fairly, there are avenues for that. And they should definitely please encourage them to talk to someone about that, whether that's Kendra or me or any kind of support person. We don't want that to be happening on this campus. But there are certainly things that we have to do that we don't want to do, but we have to do them. So what do you do? Given that you have to say yes. Part of it is pulling in your network of support to help you figure out how to approach this task in a way that is the most healthy for you that it can be. So how can you manage your time and expectations with this new task? How can you make the best of things, basically? Perhaps learn something new that you could use later in other projects that are more interesting and valuable for you, and so on. Do you have suggestions on how people can handle a situation where they really have to do it and they don't really want to?
I asked myself, what's the bare minimum I could get away with?
That's good. That's good.
I'll throw something out for folks to consider. And I think it's important for people, particularly who supervise. And I think about staff when I'm thinking about this. It's really important, again, understanding that there are differences between staff's expectations and faculty's expectations sometimes, that if you do supervise staff, particularly newer staff, that you help them advocate for themselves in saying no. I think that's a really, really important part of professional development and being a good leader, a good, professional mentor in ways to your staff. So I tell my staff, particularly newer ones, let's talk about opportunities as they come up, right? Like, you should always feel free to come to me with any opportunity that's arisen, whether you want to do it or not, right? Because if you want to do it, then I'm going to try to find a way to make sure that we can rearrange things so that you can say yes, right? Because it's very important to give our staff opportunities to say yes to the things that are important to them and to things that will help them advance their careers. But if it's something that you actually don't want to do, it doesn't serve you, you have too many other things going on, let's also talk about it so that we can help you figure out how you're going to say no without feeling like you're burning the bridge, right? And in situations that maybe there's, a big power differential at play, I tell my staff, feel free to throw me under the bus. If you feel like you can't, for whatever reason, say no in a way that's not going to burn a bridge or that's not going to be damaging to you in your career or your relationship with this person, whatever the case may be, I'm happy to say no on your behalf. I'm happy to reach out to that person and say, this isn't a good fit at the time. This person doesn't have the bandwidth, whatever the case may be. I don't believe in coddling staff, right? Like, we're all adults, we're all professionals. We have to learn to advocate for ourselves. But there are instances in which we do need to advocate for our staff, and we need to be willing to advocate on their behalf and say no, right? So part of it is helping them develop those skill sets and becoming comfortable in those situations, comfortable and confident enough to say no. But in the meantime, it's okay, I personally believe, to say no for them if they just don't feel like they have that, if they don't have the power to do that. So I just want to mention that for folks who do supervise. I think it's really, really important to make sure that we're supporting our colleagues, our staff in that way.
Thank you. And I don't have a slide called this, but I think I should have. So we're just going to have one slide right now called guilt. Guilt. Let it go. So Kendra, you've asked a lot of people to do a lot of things, right? Are you ever mad at them if they say no?
No, I am not. Am I ever sad because I really needed something in a pinch? Yes, but I will also say that, honestly, I haven't yet faced a situation where I couldn't get what I needed, right? So people say no. I'm always able to figure it out, or they're able to help me figure it out, even if they're not able to commit the time. There are certainly folks who have said, even in the midst of an obligation, right? Hey, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really had a great time. It was really beneficial to me, but something new has come up, right? I'm not able to commit the time and energy to this anymore. Something else that I'm more interested in, maybe they don't say more interested, but something else that serves me better professionally or is more in line with my professional interests has come up, and I really need to take the time to engage in that. I'm happy for them, right? Like, usually my response to them is going to be, I really hate to see you go because you're fabulous. But if you're in your new endeavors, there's a way that we can work together, or if there's any synergies between your new thing and the thing that I really wanted your help with, let me know, right? And we can figure it out. I think that we are afraid often that people will be upset if we say no. My experience is that if folks are reasonable, that fear is unfounded. People understand that we can't do everything.
So, follow-up question. Let's say they said yes, but they can't put the time in that they need to. So they're kind of doing a half-assed job. You're going to hold it against them?
Well, that's a different question. So am I going to hold it against them?
What if they say, I can't put the work in that I thought I could. I'm sorry, I can't do this right now.
So to me, right, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because that's happened to all of us. That's happened to me before. I bit off more than I could chew, 20 other things, 20 fires fell out the sky. Now I'm in a position where the energy that I thought I could expend, I don't have. I don't have the time anymore. So I'm so sorry. What can I do to be helpful without doing this whole thing that I thought I could? That's okay. But Kristin, to your point, I think it's much better to say, I'm not able to do this, no, I cannot up front, than it is to say yes, 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 and then do half of what you promised, right? So that's a great point. It's another good reason why we really should think critically about saying no at the beginning.
And the one exception I would say to this, by the way, is in departments in which some work has to get done. If someone doesn't do it, someone else has to do it. Or third choice, it doesn't get done. If we're talking about somebody needs to make the fall schedule, that really has to happen. If we're talking about the annual report for the department needs to be produced, that should happen. What if it's late? Oh, it's late. Like you'll get a bunch of emails that says your report is late.
Yep.
Nobody should say I said this, by the way. This is all secret, very secret. So I know we're way past time. So I will say we're not going to do this, but do think about where you want to be in the future and think about what you want to say yes to coming up that aligns to those goals. Because if you keep in mind what you really want to do and some yeses that you really want to commit you to, it will help you with the no's. Because as you're thinking about your time trade-off, you're like, I'm saving it for this. Even if it's, I'm saving it because I want to sleep. I want to sleep more this semester. Like I'm saving it so I don't feel so terrible when I get up in the morning. That's keeping those all in mind, all as favors for your future self can help you with your no's. So thank you all for your wonderful contributions and for all of the yeses and for teaching those of us who make the asks how to say no much better by saying no also. It's great to see you. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will also, I have the link for the slides, except your scripts were good. So I have to update it. So I won't share the link. Instead, I will take a quick screenshot so I don't forget who to send them to. I will send you the slides with the new scripts that you all wrote shortly today. I'll send it to you today.
Thank you all so much. The time flew by. I didn't realize that we were so over. So thanks for your patience.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stop the recording. And Kristin,
Kendra, bring me your puppy.
I will, Nicole. I actually will.
I'm still saying yes.